get them to be able to feel discomfort and not react to it as step one. That is the number one step, is feel discomfort and do nothing about it. Sit in a room with no input, no electronics, no screens, 5, 10, 15 minutes a day, and do nothing. Just sit there. Think about things. You create your own input in your mind. Just think about some shit for like 10 minutes a day with nothing around you to distract. That is a, well, good. That's excellent. Just a chart. A lot of people have an inability to do this. I've asked the chat this before on occasion, and I've gotten horrified responses. Practice that yourself as well, but that's a good step. But introspection and critical thinking are the things that we need to build in people, because these things are not innate. Nobody is born with the ability to do so. You need to learn by practicing. We used to teach this shit in school, you know, and we don't anymore. And so you need to incentivize critical thinking, and the rest will come. And if you have friends and family who are not radicalized but occasionally say some sussy shit, a good method to start talking to them is, hey, look, a lot of people are talking about, like, nobody knows what is real anymore, and everyone's confused by stuff on social media. I have an idea. You can take my phone and just scroll through my feed for a little bit, like 5 minutes, and let me scroll through yours, and then let's talk about it and discuss what we see in good faith. And on the down low, if you're doing this with like your parents or your family members, and you see a Nazi account that you've recognized on Twitter or something, it's perfectly moral to just unfollow that real quick, and just not tell them, but still have a good faith discussion on what's going on in their feed and what's going on in your feed. Because again, we are not immune to this. We are absolutely susceptible. And so good faith engagement like this is a good start. Talk to your neighbors and try to just be nice to, even to the people that hate you. Be nice to them in person. Online, bully the shit out of the right wing. You treat them like they treated you. Call them a snowflake. Call them a communist. Call them a Stalin. Stop calling them Nazis and Hitlerites. Call them CCP pills. Call them Stalin. Call them commies. Call them Marxists. Call them liberals. Call them snowflakes. Do what they did to you, and watch my videos on how to use right-wing tactics. I've been covering the old alt-right playbook videos and flipping them around. And then community. Bad guys, I tend to do better with text chat interaction, not having confidence around people. I tend to avoid conversation. Plus, being autistic, it takes me time to get over what was said to formulate my response. Practice. I'm also autistic. Stop being inside. Go outside and have in-person social interaction. Online social interaction can only ever create a facsimile of the benefits of in-person interaction. It is hard. Take it step by step. When you go to the store, chat with the store clerk every now and again. Give them a compliment. Say, hey, I like your shoes, or whatever it is. Be nice and just have like a little chat every now and again. To grow beyond your comfort zone through healthy discourse is important. Hey, like, honestly, even join the Discord and hop in voice and hang out there. That's a decent way to practice as well. Go to your library, join a D&D group, do something. Injecting leftist talking points and promoting empathy into your daily conversations. Point out bigotry and stupidity of the right without outright saying Republicans are fascist. Exactly. You gotta pass the woke filter.
Hey, so necessary backstory here. I'm triggered. I normally don't bring my phone home with me. I leave it at the studio, and I don't have Wi-Fi at my place. Because I'm very emotionally vulnerable.
By the way, you are absolutely awesome.
And very susceptible to the things that bleed into my eyes through the computer screen. And I made the mistake yesterday of bringing my phone home, and this is one of the first things I saw. And I'm triggered. I'm mad. I don't like this thought, but I think it's wrong in a very interesting way. And so I'd like to read you this Twitter thread, and we can process it together. I used to have this idea that one day I would meet like-minded people, be part of some sort of bohemian culture. It's a fantasy.
This is important.
Any kind of collective group art endeavor is a fantasy where the serious people end up burned and gaslit and ostracized. You have to do it alone. I have like 3 values, so you know when I'm triggered, it's probably because of community or art or blindly accepting status quo things. The first thing that bothered me
Mine would be community, empathy, and blindly accepting status quo things. Very similar.
about this thought is that I intensely related to it. There was a time when I really thought like this guy, that community is impossible and all communities will burn out the people who are involved with it, and we're just living in a sick, fucked up, twisted world where community...
This was me not even a full year ago, just so you understand how easy and quickly this can happen if you just put some effort into it and engage with people who are like-minded. Streaming has helped me immensely. Doing this has improved my mental health like orders of magnitude.
Communities are impossible to make now. There are no artistic communities. Citation, please, because I've been doing that for a year.
Yeah, none.
And it's been pretty good, actually. I think the problem here is that, and this he's getting at something which is a real thing, which is that it's hard now. It's very hard. But like, the world is giving you a call to action when this happens to you. Like, the universe is opening up and saying, you could do something that's good for yourself and the world if you create a community and you foster something that is sustainable and you bring a bunch of artists together. You can do so...
Whether it's art or anything else, but yes. And again, it is so important to understand that that feeling of doom, that feeling of you can't do anything is brand new. All of human history worked this way. And suddenly, in the last 2 decades, we have lost every semblance of it. We have nothing anymore. People go into stores and cringe when they're asked, how can I help you? And by the way, thanks for the link for this, Oxpecker.
So much good. The problem is that it's really hard. It takes up a lot of your time. You have to push yourself as a person to interact with others and deal with others, manage their emotions, their feelings, find the right people. This is not easy stuff. It's probably the hardest thing I've ever done. There's a huge problem here, and this is not how you solve it. This is the opposite of how you solve it. This is succumbing to the problem.
It is immersion therapy.
The problem.
Leftist Leo, that's exactly what it is. It's immersion therapy. Lord Fluffy Art's not here. He's another mod in the server. But Lord Fluffy Art, regular dude, he joined Progressive Victory, which was an excellent pack that was working for progressives, that was working with other streamers, that would go out and do canvassing, door knocking, phone banking. I did some phone banking with them as well. And what I heard from a lot of young people in Progressive Victory was that they were all very afraid of doing the door knocking, of doing the canvassing, because social interaction. But after that very first door knock, it instantly got easier. And of course it was still difficult, but every door you knocked on, it got easier. Every stranger you talk to, it gets easier. I like to just compliment random people in public that I say, see someone with cool hair? I'm like, oh, I like your hair. And sometimes that leads to like a 20-minute conversation. I was at a bar a couple months ago, and I saw some guy with a cool tattoo. And I said, I like this tattoo, and it led to a 45-minute conversation about, like, he was in the military. He told me about the Gulf War, the Iraq War. We were talking about how Australia's military works with the... Like, it led into an entire different thing, which then led me to meet another one of his friends who was at that bar, and then they came in. Like, it's... Once you begin, it just kind of continues on. You build that momentum, and the momentum carries you forward. Because reaching out is subtly implied to be cringe and extra. Exactly. And cringe doesn't exist unless you decide it exists.
Problem into a non-issue and actually saying it's good, really. It's good that you have no friends or community. And what you should do is lock in. Just lock in by yourself. The other thing is maybe you're a bad person. And I think actually you probably are perhaps a bad person, because if you're joining these communities and they all reject you, you know, maybe you have like serious problems. And like that's not a norm, unsolvable problem, but you're never going to solve them if you actually think the problem is everybody else and not me, because you do got to deal with a lot of your issues when you start interacting with other people.
And to understand that the problem isn't everybody else, it might be me, requires a modicum of introspection, of critical thinking. I just thought I was, though, self-hatred. I know, but part of that is also because of a lack of this. The opposite is also true. Because some people think the problem is everybody else is not them, and then some people think that they're the problem and that nobody else will want them. But both of these two ideas, the two conflicting opposite ends, both come from a lack of social interaction. You can fix both in the same way, by interacting with others. With accountability comes power, even if they are not the problem. It's true. And I like accountability sounds scary, but accountability just means if I say something wrong, one of you will correct me, and then we'll have a conversation about it. And then because, this is a cooperative engagement community, I'll change my mind. Whereas if you go to, I don't know, a different group chat that is not as much, let's say, I'm not gonna even gonna name a name, but you go to like a different streamer's chat or something, and you point out that they're wrong, they won't even consider it. They'll just ban you. Now, if you point out that I'm wrong and you say nothing about why, then I'm gonna get mad at you. If you point out that I'm wrong and you give me bullshit and you're wrong, I will try and correct you. And if you double down and scream until you're blue in the face that I'm wrong and not engage with my, counter argument, then I ban you. Because good faith requires it to go both ways. You can tell me I'm wrong, and if I'm wrong, I'll be wrong. And if you tell me I'm wrong and it turns out that I'm not, then you have to also engage in that conversation. And that's really hard. It's very, very difficult to feel challenged, especially in a public setting. It feels embarrassing to be wrong with other people watching you. It feels like you will be mocked forever. You won't be. I promise. I've been wrong before. Before the election, I spent weeks talking about how Trump was going to win. And then I fell for the Seltzer poll. I saw that Seltzer poll, and I took the hopium. And I said, there's probably still a good chance Trump will win, but I am hopeful. I think maybe we'll pull it off. I was wrong. I admitted it. And then we moved on. It's not, it's perfectly okay to be wrong. There's nothing wrong about that. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not morally wrong. It's not ethically wrong. You should not be ostracized for being wrong. You just have to accept that and work on it. Because if you don't, then you're just going to loop yourself over and over and over again forever. It's the death of society.
You gotta change. You gotta die in some respects. You gotta change who you are. Another thing that's kind of bothering me here. Let me get to the next part. He talks about
again,
this guy.
by the way, this isn't applying to much of you. You guys all do engage in good faith. So really, the argument that applies to you here would probably be leftist Leos of I'm afraid that I'm the problem and that everyone else won't like me. I promise you, people will like you. Before I started streaming, I thought everyone would make fun of me and that no one would watch. I'm absolutely shocked at the amount of people that come in here and act and listen to me and engage. You'll be shocked at how many people will like your presence, will engage with you positively, and that your thoughts and feelings are valid, that they matter. That's not just some snowflake woke shit. That's reality. It's just make it public. Go talk to people. What's up, Headless Chicken? We're just talking about building community.
Guy that can start a magazine and then he finds a community and then also gets groupies willing to strip naked for him in public. You shouldn't actually want this. It's actually very telling that this is one of the first things that he brings up.
Wyndham Lewis could start a magazine, drop it, then start another magazine in a few weeks. He would not only have a readership, a community of friends, but he'd have 2 different Artho groups offering him to strip nudes in public. Yeah, that is creepy. That is... I wonder why this person is feeling left out of community. I feel like maybe that is wrong. Wrong. What is wrong? I'm never wrong. Even when I'm wrong, I'm right. But seriously, I have no issue with holding my hands up and saying I was wrong when I'm wrong. Well, you do when it comes to Starmer. No, I'm fucking with you. I don't want to start that debate. To be fair, we haven't even had a proper conversation about that backcast, so I'm just fucking with you.
about what he wishes that he could have. He start a cool art group and get a bunch of hoes.
But like,
That's a good way to like speed.
This is a good positive kind of banter. You see that? Like, you can even just joke around, make fun of each other. This is the point. That's what comes from positive engagement. It comes from the ability to even fuck around like that. If I said something like that to some rando on Twitter, they would lose their mind.
Run destroying whatever stability you have. So today you can't even get the Asperger's manner boond going because it's so much more cost effective hiring demoralized H-1B workers. So this is like a new sentence. I don't think the sentence has ever been said in the universe. But what he's getting at here is like, get a bunch of autistic men together and they form a brotherhood. And I did this, by the way. We all have autism here. Everyone's autistic. But this idea of like, this is impossible. What's your source that you feel bad? You feel bad that it hasn't happened to you yet? I've tried nothing and I'm all out of ideas. I poked my head outside my turtle shell once and I had a bad experience, and this means communities are dead forever. It might just be for you, actually, and the message that you're bringing out into the world is one of isolation, atomization, and making worse art because you're less human. It's true, you're less human without other people.
That's true.
And the art that you make is less human, and it probably carries an anti-human sentiment to it.
By the way, this is exactly why I don't consider AI art.
Look at any atomized, isolated motherfucker making art, even if you enjoy the art, are they living good lives? And what's the message of their art? Is it life-affirming? No, it's not, is it? It's like almost never. If you're doing anything interesting, embarking on any kind of sustained creative project, you have to make peace with crushing loneliness. Okay, so let's pause here. What if I told you that you didn't have to make peace with crushing loneliness? What if I told you you could make friends and peers and foster community, join someone else's or build your own, and try really hard to make that sustainable, and maybe that will fail, but maybe it'll succeed, and actually it's not impossible and it could be incredibly rewarding. Maybe. What if I told you that? What if I said that instead? What about those combination of words, huh? His handle is Vile Pill. I'm going to take the Vile Pill today.
Well, so exactly, if you think of yourself in a degrading manner, like if you keep telling yourself, I'm evil, I'm a piece of shit, I'm vile, and then you start to take pride in it, of course you're going to turn into a terrible person. Your self-talk matters. Like, a good example being, I have a history of like depression. I had a rough time, when I was younger. And so I developed that common thing that especially boys do this too, but girls do it more, where you put yourself down, where you do something and you're like, oh fuck, I'm so stupid. Oh fuck, that was like, and you keep telling yourself down and down and down, and it makes it worse. Flip that and be over the top positive to the point where it is almost parroting. Compliment yourself in a way that seems incredibly narcissistic instead of degrading yourself in a way that is going to continue in that thought pattern. Because when you start saying, oh, I'm the best, I can never be wrong, I am God, in fact. You say that shit, obviously you don't believe it. You're joking. You're also, though, blocking out the negative reaction that you would be giving yourself. And instead, that little positive, even that little joke, it makes you laugh a little bit, and then you move on from that negative feeling quicker, and you don't internalize the negative. You're not going to internalize the over-the-top narcissistic, complimentary rhetoric, because you don't actually mean it, and you know that. You're doing it on purpose.
Into the locker! His handle is Vile Pill. I'm going to take the Vile Pill today. Into the locker! Into the locker with you! There is no Parisian cafe for you. It's easy to look at where I'm at and say, oh, you just did that because you had a lot of opportunity. And I don't have that opportunity. There are people who think like this, that have a million times more fucking opportunity than me, and they've done nothing, and I know because every YouTuber has no friends. I talk to them. They have no friends. They come by my studio. They're like, holy fuck, I could have been doing...
Hey, I have friends. My friends made that... Well, actually, one of my friends made that entire wall. So, that's not true.
doing this my whole life and I just didn't. Why didn't I? And it's a skill issue. And then here,
it is
you
a
know, he
skill
says,
issue. But skill issue doesn't mean that, like, it's not innate. Skill issue means practice. Skill, as in, you know, a sport, a trade, a video game, maybe. It's a skill. The more you do it, the better you get at it. And socializing and community is a skill. Critical thinking is a skill.
Embrace your crushing loneliness. And then weird freak, you know, he says, embrace your crushing loneliness.
Embrace your crushing loneliness. This is literally death cult shit. This is this is why the whole like black pill type people really infuriate me, because they're basically dead already. If you have given up to that point, what's the point? Like, you're supposed to try. Life is supposed to be a constant struggle to improve your life and the life of others around you. Now it's just a constant struggle to survive, and yes, that is a part of the material conditions, but you should still try and engage with others because they will make your life better. Under every kind of authoritarian system, whether it be fascism, whether it be Nazism, Soviet Russia, Nazi Germany, whether you're in Israel now being oppressed, whether you're in Turkey being oppressed, whether you're in America being oppressed, wherever it is. Do you know what has gotten people through these times historically? It has been community. If you can't afford food, but you could last week and your neighbors couldn't and you helped them out, then this week when they have food, they will help you out. You work with each other. Talk to your neighbors, you know? Honestly, if you don't have at least the phone number of one of your neighbors to call in an emergency situation, get on that shit. Whether it be a fire, a hurricane, a tornado, a militia, someone breaking in and trying to rob you, you should be able to go and either run to your neighbor's house and knock on their door or call them and ask for help. At least one.
And then weird freak Max. Become a weird little freak. Become a weird little freak. Cool.
Headless chicken.
How do you think that's gonna interface with you trying to get community in the future? You being a weird freak and loving that about yourself. It's okay to be a strange person. It's okay to be weird. All right. I don't know if that's something you should lean into.
I'm fucking weird. There's nothing wrong with it. Don't make that your entire personality.
And to the point where you have no possible community whatsoever. I don't know if that's what you should do. I don't know if you should weird freak Max. I think if you have eccentricities within yourself, you should look to those eccentricities to try to see if you can provide value to other people, especially normal people, so that you can bring them together and actually do good for the world instead of fucking putting yourself in a little schizoid box.
Our neighbors trade eggs and garden goods with us. Most have our number in case of an emergency, and they'll check if something looks weird at our house, but we're rural folk. That is what I want you to do. Whether you're rural or whether you are urban. You can live in New York fucking City. I have. I lived in Brooklyn for a year. You can do this. Do it. That's that mindset. What Ted Gingerfluff just said, that is the mindset you need to create in your community. That is the engagement you need to create.
I'm the best
person. No one's gonna
ever.
do it for you.
Superior to everybody else. God, what an awful thing to say. This is one of the worst possible combinations of words you could put into the world. I know I'm sticking a knife in a wound here. I know that you have a wound, you're bleeding, and you're saying these things because you're bleeding and you're hurt, and you tried to get involved with some community clearly, and you ended up burned and gaslit and ostracized, okay? I know that one thing happened to you, and now it's embedded into your philosophy, and it's a trauma for you,
it's
and I know
funny.
that's sad. But also, you know, just because you're sad about something doesn't give you the right to be fucking stupid and wrong. And you're wrong here, okay?
I'd be more expressive, but like I am far too tired to yell like that now.
So here's the knife, stab, stab, stab. You should be aware that you're wrong. You're demonstrably wrong. And I know that it's hard to make community, and I know that it's difficult to exist in this world, and you have a right to complain about it, okay?
Absolutely.
I complain about it all the time. It's hard. It's extremely hard. It's harder than it should be. It's harder than it's ever been in human history. But you also have more tools than ever to connect people. I use the internet. I'm an internet guy, and I've used the internet to connect people using the internet. It can also
As
be
we're
used to
doing right
destroy
now.
people and atomize people and hurt people. I would say it's actually better at doing those things than bringing people together. But it can bring people together. You can do things that help the world and yourself and make you a better person. And in doing so, as an artist, as someone who wants to create, you also make better art, because then you are more of a human being and the person making the art.
By the way, taking art out of it, do you know how good it feels to do this? To have one person whose life you improve, even in a tiny little minor way? Do you know how fulfilling it is? People think about what the point of life is all the time. What's the point of life? What's the point? What's the point? What's the point? The point is to increase your standard of living, to be happy, to chase happiness, and to improve the standards for everyone around you, and to open up pathways for the most possible people around you to also chase and experience happiness. He's referencing Noah Samson regarding YouTubers who came to his studio like I might be an emotionally dormant human volcano. I have no calendar plan. I've been totally winging it this whole time. Then he hung out with J-Rag for place for a week and got Easter egged into him. Art Chad videos. Oh yeah, that's right. He's third broadcasting channel and has a roommate called Horseshoe Theory. Right. See, this is the I believe the first J-Rag video I'm ever watching, and I know Noah Samson, but I don't really know their content very much. I don't spend all that much time watching like YouTube content or online. I scroll Twitter in the morning before work, and other than that, like if I watch YouTube content, it'll be specific to like I like to learn things. And I'm not an art person, so you know.
Being in order to create value to other human beings, which is what good art is. So yeah, anyway, I shouldn't bring my phone home with me. And I decided I don't want to yell at people on Twitter. It's like, it's aesthetically unpleasing. So I'm going to yell at them in video form instead. Vile pill, whatever. Come by the studio. You're invited.
Yeah. Like, make community. That's all you need to know.